have a question for you. How old were you when you realized that we really live in a matrix? I'll have to admit, I was over 50 years old. And I was like most people. My entire life, I was born and raised as a Democrat. I voted a straight Democrat ticket until I was in my 50s. And then I started researching things on my own. And the first thing that I did, I had a friend that told me that I had to vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. But I had heard everything about her from Bernie Sanders, from Barack Obama, and from Donald Trump. I was like, wait a minute, everybody's saying the same thing about her. I might want to pay attention to this myself before I pledge my vote to her. And so I did. And what I found out, I'm not going to go into any detail, but it changed how I voted from then on. And so I say to you, when did you realize that we live in a matrix? And then the more I researched, and I thank God for this site called Parler that they took down intentionally in 2021 or 2020, 2021. Parler had some of the best articles. And so I say to you, if you are still in that matrix, and what do I mean? When you think that this election is about Democrats and Republicans, or if you think this election is about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, but you have not looked at the wealthiest people in the world who have been planning this takeover for decades. If you have not looked at the Federal Reserve and you don't realize that the Federal Reserve is not really federal, if you haven't looked at what other agencies in our government have been doing for years, if you did not look at the Balfour Agreement and how the state of Israel or country of Israel, however they call it, was established, if you have not looked at so many different things throughout history, all of our wars, why are we in wars? If you have not looked at the revolution that they just had in Africa, how many of you know that Africa just freed itself from colonization from France, from the UK, from the United States, for some countries for centuries? France had been in Niger for 500 years, taking all of their resources. They were the #3 producer of uranium. However, and that's what uranium is used for nuclear power. However, over 50% of their people did not have electricity, but over 70% of their money that was mined from uranium went to France. They just put France out of Niger just a year ago. And then how many of you know that the United States was asked to leave Niger and they refused to? And Rand Paul had a bill before Congress to force the United States to close its military bases. And I just want you to know this. None of the Democrats voted. Even the black Democrats voted to support Niger and their desire to no longer be colonized. But back to the United States, all of these things are so important because I realized I didn't know anything because I, like you, probably listen to, mainstream media, and I'm not bashing them or any of their journalists, but they're owned by the same people that own the politicians, that own the pharmaceutical companies, that own all of the weapons manufacturers. All of this, we live in a bubble. This is the matrix that we live in. And the reason they hate Donald Trump so much is because he did something that no one ever does. He ran for president. Nobody runs for president. They are selected to run for president. And if you choose to run and you accidentally win, oh my God, you get the wrath of God. That's what happens in the matrix. And I want to know, how many of you are still in the matrix, for one thing? So if you say something about Agenda 2025, I know you're still in the matrix. Or if you immediately say something about Donald Trump, I know you're still in the matrix. But anybody else, let me know when you got out of the matrix or when you realized that you were in it.